Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're back. We have a new day and a new time. We are the Woodlawn Restorative Justice Hub, located on the south side of Chicago in Woodlawn. And normally we were on your Friday channel, but this for the next few weeks we're going to be on Mondays at 6:30, and we invite you to join us. And there is a phone number that is at the bottom of the screen, and we'd like to invite you guys to call that number if you have any comments or questions, and we really would like to have some callers this afternoon. That telephone number is 312-738-1060. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Mrs. Scott, and she is not only a resident of Woodlawn, but also working with the Restorative Justice Hub and also a social worker. And we'd like to invite you. Hello, Ms. Scott.
Hi.
We're glad you took time out today. Normally, we're having our young adults from the community to come out with us, but they are actively involved in the sit-ins and the protests that are going on with the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on right now. And we want to thank them so much. They gave up a lot of their time this weekend to express their true feelings about what's going on in their lives and in the lives of others. So we're going to touch a little bit on that. I want to invite Ms. Scott to give us a very in-depth perspective of what's going on, not only as someone working with the youth in our community, but also as a wife and mother of a former policeman. And I just want to ask you a little bit about what you think is going on that's affecting our lives so deeply right now. Everybody's wondering how to help, or admitting that they haven't been helpful enough, and being active and trying to solve some of the things that are going on in our streets right now. And I know you're fully aware of what's been going on television, what's been going on across the nation and cities. I was moved deeply today, actually disturbed today, by a comment that was made by the former mayor Giuliani about it's not like Black Lives Matter, it's all lives matter, and it's a racist comment, and I was just really truly disturbed by that today. Yes, I do agree, all lives matter, but right now those aren't the lives that are being taken down in the streets. Exactly. So I want you to comment a little bit. I guess I've given you a whole list, a litany of things that I want you to talk about, because I heard you talk about some things, and I was deeply moved about what insight you have and how much insight that you have. So let's talk a little bit about.
Well, let's kind of piggyback a little bit regarding the statement, the comment that was made about all Black Lives Matter, and a comment that was made that all life matter, and which is true. It should be all lives matter, but that is not the case. We're not. The African American, the Black population is not included in all lives matter, because if we were, our husbands, our boyfriends, our sons, our grandsons, our nephews, they wouldn't be killed out in the street like they are, like they're being killed. And so, yes, all lives matter, but Black life matter too. One life is not more important than the other. So.
But if it mattered, we wouldn't be here where we are right now.
Exactly.
Seemingly not, especially to the point where you could take life like it's being taken. I want to touch a little bit on the fact that you were married to a policeman. So you know a little bit about what's going on. Just as the wife of a cop, tell me a little bit about what that life is like. And do you think that they are desensitized to what's going on sometimes, that they're maybe they see so much of it every day, and then don't let me put words in my mouth. Talk to me a little bit about what that life was like.
Well, it was stressful, because as a wife married to a police officer, you know, the thought every day when he's out in the streets, you know, is this going to be the day that his sergeant knocks on my door and say he was killed in the line of duty? You know, it's stressful. And don't get me wrong, you know, I have the utmost respect for police officers. They're out here daily, and their lives are on the line daily. But I think over a period of years, or even not, probably maybe around 6 months to a year, you know, being out on the streets and being in a community that is struggling, and then they see so much, they get desensitized.
Well, do you think they deal with the post-traumatic stress syndrome?
Oh,
do you think
most definitely. They're just not diagnosed with
Whoa.
it. You know, anytime when they have to pull their revolver and they have to shoot, you know, upon assessing, you know, of course they say officers will go into counseling, but how much counseling do they really get? You know, they get maybe a week worth of counseling, then they put them back out on the street. You know, you don't we don't understand that when an officer, when you take an oath to serve and protect, and then you have to draw your weapon out, you know, and shoot someone,
possibly take a life or two.
Possibly take a life, right, or two, because of the threat and the immediate danger, and you have to make that decision. That bothers. So that's on your conscience,
right.
Because they're saying, "Oh my God, you know, I took a life. That could have been my son. That could have been my daughter. You know, that could have been my brother."
So you sympathize, like what has happened in Dallas, with the officers who lost their lives trying to protect or do the job. What do you think about the officers involved in Minneapolis and the officers involved in Baton Rouge? Do you think that maybe possibly that they weren't all there when they did what they did?
You know, that's hard to say. But when I was watching the news and saw the little clips, and this is just my interpretation and my viewpoint, it was almost as if the officer really didn't care about life, but that particular life, a man of color. You know, it was like, well, I'm justifying what I'm doing, and I'm going to do this.
Do you think it accelerates when they know that the person that they're stopping or the person that they're approaching is carrying a weapon?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do think it accelerates. And I think now, because we have the law that's out here that we can bear arm and to conceal, to carry, you know, can be actually a justification for some police officers to say, oh, he had a gun. You know, even after the individual say to the officer, I have a license to carry. So there's nothing surprising when once you say that, you make it known to the officer. You know, so the officer know, okay, you have a license to carry. So, you know, proceed with, let me see your driver's license, registration, or even your license to carry.
Do you think they panic? Do you think that accelerates the reason to pull the trigger? To pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I was trying to soft soap it. I'm glad you took it.
Yes.
And it didn't work.
But also now, they can also be looked at and viewed, and it's being viewed by many. And this is just my opinion, and how I viewed what happened was that the officer used the fact that, oh, he had a gun. He ain't looking at, he legally had this gun. Oh, he had the gun, so I'm responding to the gun that I see. How did you see the gun, and if it's concealed to carry? A gun have to be concealed. That's the whole purpose of having a license, to conceal. It's not like it's laying out on a dashboard. Because if it was laying out in the open, that means it's not concealed. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if I'm wrong, someone please correct me. So he justified himself in taking his life because he saw a gun that was concealed.
I don't think it's right to take a human life in any form. So I'm not downing the police department. I'm trying to understand, is it because people are pushing training, but you can get so much training, but when you're actually in that scenario, does the training go by the wayside if you're all stressed out, or if you're fearing that somebody's gonna come at you? I saw the Good Morning America stuff and all the interviews today where people talked about the lady who was under total control. And this is what we're advocating. We're advocating when you are stopped by the police that you have total control of your scenario. You don't want to set them off. You talked a little bit about your husband being a policeman and him being able to walk that fine line of being a policeman on the force in the black community, a black man with a black son, and how he had to walk that fine line. I see a caller that's coming in. Can I come back to that and answer this caller? Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, good evening, ladies. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. I've got two comments to make. Now, my first comment, first of all, of course, my heart goes out to the 5 men, the police officers that lost their lives. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of conflicted because these men made the decision to become police officers. They received payment for performing those functions. So, yes, it's a terrible thing that they lost their lives, but I'm still in mourning from the 9 church people that were murdered in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. The grandmothers and the grandfathers and the brothers and the sisters. Mm-hmm. I'm still in mourning for them at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Now, my second comment is, I understand how everyone is up in arms about everything in terms of the murders and the shootings, but yet here in Chicago, we are all trapped in the middle of a drug war, and nothing's being done about it. But here's the most ironic thing about it: in Chicago, it's only about 6 or 7 areas where all the shooting and murder has taken place. But here's the kicker: it's been the same 6 or 7 areas for the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, 40 years. Mm-hmm. So are you trying to tell me in 40 years you can control 6 or 7 areas? Of course you can. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to Black lives, we here in Chicago can see the effects of being devalued, can see the effects in the body count in terms of not being valued. Mm-hmm. So when you put it in a larger perspective, it's almost frightening to live here in Chicago. We're not, the government doesn't care. The Democratic people that have run this city for 40 years have chosen to almost wall off those 6 or 7 areas and let all the killing and all the shooting be done and not do anything about it. So thank you for giving me this time, and I'd like to hear your comments.
Thank you for the call. You made some really good points there. I tend to agree with you a little bit. This has been going on in certain areas for a long time. Mm-hmm. But when it started spilling over into them or their kids coming to these places to get the drugs, or to come and displace some of the residents that are in this area and then turn around and move into these areas like they're trying to do into Woodlawn, like they're trying to do in a couple cities, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. Where we're actually displacing the residents. Then it makes it seem like it's such a horrible situation. The body count should say enough. The lack of jobs should say enough. The lack of active participation with parents in the school, all of this should say a little bit about what's going on, not only in our neighborhood, but the effect that it's having on our lives. So, good point, caller. Talk a little bit about how your husband had to walk that line as being a black policeman, and the politics that go along, the political climate inside the department, of how he had to function with that. And then we're going to go on. You wanted to talk a little bit about gentrification.
Yes. Well, any police officer of color, whether it's male or female, walks a thin line and almost live a double life, because not only do they have to keep peace, for lack of a better word, in the community, but also on their job and with their, and with their partners if they riding with a partner. I see that there's a caller coming.
Okay,
in. Do you want to take that call?
Sure, let's take the call. Caller, you're on the air.
All right. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
All right. Okay. Now, my I guess question is, this is your restorative justice program, so I guess maybe this question has a place in your venue there. Now, you have these. I don't know really want to call them antagonistic types of comments that come along, like Chirac, these names, these movies. But then you have a big, story like the thing that happened in Texas. And now, would it be inflammatory for somebody to come along and try and make a movie out of this and call it Texas Stan, because the shooter guy was coming back from Afghanistan, and there's been so many other little stories in the news about things that supposed to happen, with all of the different gangs and threats against police and all of this kind of stuff. I mean, what?
You seem to be upset by the term Chirac because it involves the name of the city of Chicago, or implies the name of the city of Chicago with the war zone that's going on in Iraq. Baby, we're in a global war all the way around here, and America's busting at the seams from the inside out. And a lot of people who stay quiet, and I'm like, well, first of all, maybe people don't really believe what's going on with our lives, our day-to-day lives. Maybe they think we're whining or complaining, but then there was a gentleman I spoke to earlier today. His point was, no, they are quite aware of what happened. They just didn't do anything, and now that they haven't done anything, it's only getting progressively worse. So I'm not offended by the term Chirac, because it has been a war zone, and there are a lot of mothers and wives and women who have been killed also, young, beautiful. This weekend, a girl was at her cousin's house doing her hair, and somebody shot through the window and killed her. There's a lack of a human element here that is frightening to the spirit, to your soul. I mean, each death, I'm never not surprised at what's going on. And one thing with the Restorative Justice Hub that we're working with, we're trying to give our young people heads up. There's a list, and I've been asked about it a million times, of 1,000 names. Do they know who shooters are? They know they're talking about taking them down. But nobody's talking about taking them up. What do you do? How are we going to get this resolved? You can't kill everybody. You can't wipe out neighborhoods. You even the gentleman. I guess I counted the number of incidences where black men have been killed or murdered by the hands of the police, and it was almost like this young man took one cop life for every young male's life that was taken in vain, or through murder, or through hate, or through lack of any kind of respect for human life. And then Giuliani gets on TV today and he says something about, well, tell your kids to respect the cops, and to tell them they're more likely to get killed by somebody black than they are a cop. And I'm like, Father, Mother God, hello? What is it about this that this man does not understand? And
because it doesn't affect him. It doesn't affect his family. But it does
affect him, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We have got to come to some kind of common ground, and it starts with being human. It starts with being human. So, no, I don't think it would be offensive if somebody tacked a name on it. I don't think the movie Chirac did justice to what was going on in Chicago. I think the last Barbershop movie addressed the gangs and the lifestyle and the lack that's in certain communities, much more than what Spike Lee did. I think there was such a fervor over it, and I saw it, and then I saw this other movie, and I'm like, well, this is more like what's going on. But I thank you for that question. I want to get real back. You touched on earlier in your conversation when I saw you in a meeting earlier today about gentrification and genocide. What can you dib a little bit on that for me?
Well, and of course we would love to have some response to callers and for callers to call in on it, to comment on. But my thing was, I wanted to know what is the difference between gentrification and genocide, or is there a difference? Because we know that in gentrification, they use the term gentrification for like to renovate, to improve,
Upgrade.
The upgrade, right? A house or a district, basically gentrification to conform to basically the middle class taste. That's basically what it is. And then you have genocide, where genocide is basically a deliberate killing of a large group, or a race, or a nation for that matter. So my question to the audience is, what is the difference between gentrification and genocide? Because now it seems like they ran out of gentrification, models. So now they're going from gentrification to genocide.
Which is Giuliani telling, why don't you tell your kids that your neighbor will possibly kill you before a cop would?
Hello.
I'll take the call. Caller, you're on the air. Caller, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. What is your comment, please? Hi.
My comment is this, and I want to know, have you all looked at the Willie Lynch syndrome and how it's playing out in today's society?
Mm-hmm.
And what is your belief about that?
Why don't you explain what that theory is to our other viewers? And just tell us a little bit about it, just a little bit about it.
Well, the Willie Lynch syndrome was said to be a letter sent to slave owners back in the 17 or 1600s, how to keep African Americans or Africans enslaved, and how to keep them to believing that they were only 3/5 human, and how to master them all during this time without taking a lash to them ever again, by mentally brainwashing their mothers and their fathers and their community, and how the young men were treated and the young women were treated. And where in our community right now does slavery exist? It exists in the penal system, in the jailhouses, and it's now a commodity. You can buy stock for imprisonment. And who's in prison most is our black men and black women. And I'm going to let you all talk about that one.
It was a way to divide people. It was, some say the letter didn't exist, but it was definitely a policy that was followed where you pit each other against each other, and then you could destroy yourself from the inside out. It was almost a little bit what Giuliani said with such, he was so full of himself with the comment today. And, I wish some of our younger people were here today, and I want you guys to tune in every Monday at 6:30. They will be here, and it's amazing to hear what they have to say about what's going on with their lives. I had one in one of my classes who said to me, do you think we have the money to go out and buy these guns? Do you think it's us bringing the drugs into the neighborhood? I was just absolutely stunned, because here's a 14-year-old telling me a little bit about what, I've known for years, but nobody's ever brought to mind. I wish we had more time. I want to thank that caller that called in about that theory of how to pit black people against each other so they can destroy themselves. I'm so grateful that you took the time out to come out and speak not only as a mother, a grandmother, the wife of a policeman, what it's like in your household to watch him go through what he has to go through every day and still walk that thin line.
Right.
Because now you got to understand that they've got to go along the policy that goes with that job and the politics that goes with that job.
Right. And live in a community.
And live in the community and be a brother, be real, be a father that's respected. That meant a lot. We're running out of time. I just want to thank you guys so much. Please come back. We're here next Monday. We're going to be here for 13 weeks. And I want to expose a little bit about what's going on in the hearts and souls and the minds of our youth. And they are awake. And there are a couple of our, well, the whole system for the Woodlawn Restorative Justice today is at the rally. And I'm praying for peace in our streets. I'm praying for peace in our hearts. And we'll be back next Monday at 6:30. Thank you, Venus.
Thank you.
And thank you, guys. We really appreciate you watching. Thank you.